Hello everybody, welcome to Barcelona for the final race of the 2017 Euro Formula Open season. The cars heading out on track now for their 30-minute qualifying session, which is going to set the grid for the race later on today. And we should be in for another absolute cracker. The weather conditions promising to be perfect. It is already warming up nicely. It's not quite as breezy as yesterday. And so we should start to see some very competitive times being set throughout this session. Well, the championship winner, Harrison Scott, not here this weekend. He wrapped it up in Monza at the start of October, followed it up a week later with back-to-back victories in Jerez, and then due to McLaren Motorsport award commitments, not competing this weekend, and that left the door wide open for Devlin De Francesco to claim victory in an eventful race yesterday, because Felipe Drugovich qualified on pole position. The Brazilian, in his debut with the RP Motorsport team, led for the opening phase of the race, and there is his teammate Yanni Fitcher before making a mistake at turn 4, slithering off wide just as a safety car came out, and that elevated Devlin De Francesco, who came on to take victory ahead of Amaya Weidenheithen, with Alex Karkozik claiming third. For Nikita Troitsky, driver who's going to finish runner-up in the championship, already claimed the rookie title. He is still seeking that elusive first win of the year. Maybe it's going to come in the final race of the campaign, as the Russian just winds his way through the chicane before they come out of the final turn to complete their outlap here around the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya. 4.6 kilometres the track distance, and a very dynamic challenge for the drivers, with a fair amount of undulation, lots of long radius mid-speed corners. Really puts a premium on getting the setup in the car absolutely spot on. Well, with 30 minutes to play with, what they will probably do is do a series of laps now that will just get the drivers and the cars dialed in for the day, make sure there are no issues, check the setup is as they want it to be, pit in mid-session, and then with about 10 minutes left on the clock, emerge with a fresh set of the control Michelin tire that they all run with, and that is then going to be the time in the session where we start to see the grid being formed. Alongside our regular cast for the 2017 season, we have also got 3 newcomers this weekend racing as wildcards. They're Felipe Drugovich, finished third in the German Formula 4 Championship; Lorenzo Colombo, who was the quickest driver in free practice on Friday with the Campos team, who finished third in the Italian Formula 4 Championship; and Joey Mawson, running with BVM, who was the 2016 German Formula 4 champion and has been racing in European Formula 3 this year. So that is the additions to the field. In terms of championship fight, it really is all coming down to the fight for third in the standings, because yesterday Devlin De Francesco wrapped up the Spanish Formula 3 crown, which is for the rounds in Estoril, Jerez and Barcelona, and De Francesco, one of the nominated drivers in that championship, and therefore he did the job in yesterday's race to claim that. But in terms of the fight for third in the championship, it's currently in favour of Devlin De Francesco, but he is only 8 points up on teammate Amaya Weidenheithen, who's fourth in the standings, and Yanni Fitcher, fifth in the standings, is just 2 points back from there. So those are the battles potentially at the top of the championship standings. There is also a very good fight underway for sixth in the standings between Thiago Vivacqua, Alex Karkozik and Simo Laxonen, and likewise 10th in the points is still up for dispute between Eliseo Martinez, Ben Hingley and Petru Florescu. Devlin De Francesco accelerates up out of turn 8 through the quick right-hander at turn 9. The car sticking to the road courtesy of the aerodynamic front and rear wings on the car. There is his Carlin teammate, Amaya Weidenheithen. And for Weidenheithen, yesterday, his first podium since Paul Ricard back in June. And Weidenheithen, having scored 1 victory this year, yesterday was his second place finish, also having that third place in Paul Ricard. Good result today for the Indian, will see him potentially finishing third in the standings. The third of the Carling cars is Guillaume Samaya. And then for Drivex, that's another trio of entries, spearheaded by Nikita Troitsky. And Troitsky qualified second yesterday, just didn't get off the line well enough, recovered very well to fourth at the checker flag, had the pace if he'd been in clear air, possibly to do a little bit better, but he couldn't make the overtaking moves that he needed to. And Troitsky joined in the Drivex team by Tarun Reddy and Christian Hahn. Well, in terms of the times that have been posted so far, it's Nikita Troitsky who's gone quickest, ahead of Devlin De Francesco, Alex Karkozik in third, Yanni Fitcher in fourth, from Air Vaidyanathan and Tarun Reddy. The Drivex team once more right up there in the championship fight all year, in the way that they were with Ferdinand Habsburg last season. Nikita Troitsky has been incredibly consistent in terms of racking up the podiums. Throughout the course of the season, he has scored 5 second-place finishes and a couple of third places as well. Can he score victory this afternoon? Certainly yesterday it would have been possible, all in a bit of a lock-up from Guillaume Samaya, but for getting a little bit bogged down off the line, because this circuit, Barcelona Catalunya, is not the easiest of the tracks to overtake on. It's not a Hungaroring, for example, where overtaking can be very, very challenging, but at the same time you have to work very hard to fashion an opportunity, but those opportunities can be created. And we saw yesterday the likes of Lorenzo Colombo, who also didn't have a brilliant start, being able to scythe their way up through the pack. So the instance yesterday came when Ben Hingley and Tarun Reddy collided at turn 4 on the first lap of the race, and also then Joey Mawson and Cameron Das colliding en route towards turn 1, and that was what prompted the safety car. Alex Karkozik for the RP Motorsport team finished third yesterday, and that has got him to within 2 points of Thiago Vivacqua in the battle for 6th in the standings. Karkozik had a difficult start to the season. Since the Hungaroring, though, has been in fine form, has been a little bit unlucky with the way that several races have unfolded for him. But in terms of his pace, that's not been in dispute for the second half of the season. He's just behind Ben Hingley and Christian Hahn on the circuit at the moment, as Felipe Drugovic goes fastest, a 1:39.6. Karkozik then into second position, Nikita Troitsky to third, Vaidyanathan in fourth from Devlin De Francesco in fifth, Yanni Fitcher in sixth, Lorenzo Colombo seventh from Thiago Vivacqua in eighth, Christian Hahn in ninth, and Tarun Reddy completes the top 10. As we say, the first phase of this session unlikely to be the part of this qualifying period that sets the grid. Doesn't mean that Alex Karkozik isn't trying. It's the car just slithered a little bit as he kept the power on through turn 9. It's the field all streaming down towards the heavy braking zone at turn 10. There is Felipe Drugovic, the Brazilian, who was absolutely sensational in terms of his pace yesterday, really flying. And one stage it appeared as if he got the race sewn up. However, went through the gravel trap at turn 4, put him some way down the order. And unfortunately for the Brazilian, that happened just as the safety car came out. As he accelerates through the final turn in pursuit of Daniel Pranenko, one of the brace of BVM drivers down the start and finish stretch, and Drugovic improves further still, a 1:39.3. Felipe Drugovic, so that gives him an advantage of 0.4 of a second over Alex Karkozik. Moving up to third now is the Australian Joey Mawson, a 1:39.7 ahead of Nikita Troitsky. And Amaya Vaidyanathan, Yanni Fitcher in sixth, clear of Lorenzo Colombo, Tarun Reddy, Devlin De Francesco and Thiago Vivacqua. And it's Yanni Fitcher who is currently on a good lap for the RP Motorsport squad. He's just done the fastest first sector of anybody of the session so far. Drugovic accelerates off in pursuit of Daniel Pranenko. Pranenko, again, yesterday having a difficult qualifying, but able to make good progress during the course of the race. Nikita Troitsky, another driver who is in the middle of having a good lap, so we might see a slightly different look to the standings as we head to the mid-session point, particularly as Drugovic has been unable to clear the Russian so far on this lap. Troitsky improving his time to go second. Amir Vaidyanathan improves to third. Yanni Fitcher, however, didn't complete his lap, and around goes Tarun Reddy. That's just coming out of turn 12. I hope the Indian is able to get the car fired up and back underway. Yes, he is. Can see from our commentary box as the driver's now starting to peel into the pits, and Tarun Reddy isn't going anywhere very quickly, unfortunately. We're following Felipe Drugovic into the pit lane. Now here is another look, and Reddy, well, he already had his accident really by the time we saw him. Fortunately, they all avoid him, and the Indian is stranded at between turns 12 and 13. So we follow Lorenzo Colombo. Tarun Reddy is stranded, he's on the track, and I just wonder if we're going to be looking at a red flag here. Indeed we are. So the red flag comes out and brings a halt to the session. That is the reason why. And it's Tarun Reddy, after that spin, he initially got going and then didn't. So the red flag comes out, the car stranded on the circuit, and obviously needs a little bit of assistance in retrieval. The timing of the red flag, very interesting, because it was just at the point in the session where many of them were ducking into the pit lane in any event to put on a new set of tyres. But now they're going to be able to do that without the session clock continuing to tick. Whatever Felipe Drugovic downloads on his laptop, whatever the issue is for Tarun Reddy, it's going to take a few moments to disentangle. We've not had too many red flags in qualifying this year in the Euro Formula Open. By my reckoning, I think this is the third or fourth that we've had. The Carlin team get to work, plugging in the laptops, consulting with Amir Vaidyanathan. All the teams have got a very well-drilled routine. Brand new set of Michelin tyres being bolted on, and this is part of the challenge. They get a set number of tyres for each weekend, and they have to make sure that they manage those tyres very carefully over the course of the days of running. So they've got fresh rubber for qualifying, and it will take them probably 2 laps to warm up the tyre, and then they'll be able to go for it. Drugovic consulting the laptop, just wonder if he's watching it on board or something, as the recovery of Tarun Reddy would appear to have been completed more or less. So everybody lines up in the pit lane. Just waiting for the last couple of course vehicles to peel off. There indeed is the Indian. I'm still not entirely convinced that he's got a live engine in that car. So he rolls downhill, and he's possibly just being very prudent here, because sometimes if you go through the gravel, there's a risk of injecting some stones or something into the air intake, and that can potentially cause all sorts of catastrophic issues. So Reddy taking it very, very gently back into the pit lane. He is pursued by a course car, and as soon as the marshal's back in position, we should get the green flag going out. Guillaume Samaya receiving some advice as well. Drugovic's car just rolled into position. He was the quickest driver in the session at the point at which the red flag came out. Nikita Troitsky second, from Amir Vaidyanathan in third, then Alex Karkozik fourth, from Joey Mawson in fifth, Lorenzo Colombo sixth, Mateus Iorio in seventh, Yanni Fitcher in eighth, Thiago Vivacqua ninth, Petru Florescu completing the top 10 ahead of Devlin De Francesco, then Taryn Reddy, Christian Hahn in 13th, Cameron Das 14th, Simon Laxton 15th, Eliseo Martinez 16th from Lodovico Laurini and Guilherme Samaya, Daniel Planenko. Well, the session has gone green once more, so the clock is on our timing screen ticking down at the moment. Our graphic will catch up with that in a moment. But although the session is green, the mid-session pause is well underway, so it's possibly going to be 8 or so minutes before we see anybody emerging from the pit lane. Because generally they like to leave it until late just to make sure that they're still on track and circulating. They can defend a time if it looks like it's going to be challenged by some of their rivals. Lots of drivers looking to end the season on a high. For Ben Hingley, he's had the disappointment of non-point scoring in the last 2 races, and there is the Fortec driver. He came into the championship with a real bang at Silverstone, not quite been on the podium yet, a best result of 4th, coming in race 2 at Silverstone, also a very well driven 5th in race 2 in Monza when he was under all sorts of pressure in a fairly crazy and chaotic race. But yesterday, coming together with Taryn Reddy, making for a very, very brief appearance. Hopefully for Taryn Reddy, there's no issues for him with the Drivex car. The team will just check it over. They were going to be bolting on new tyres anyway, so he doesn't need to worry about that, as the pit lane all very quiet. The session clock just ticking on. And the question is going to be how close they can get to yesterday's qualifying times, as have a look at super slow motion. Nikita Troitsky, yesterday pole position for Felipe Drugovich was a 1 minute 37.398. So potentially there's about 2 seconds to be found from the times that we've currently seen in the session, which are in the low 1 minute 39 second bracket for Felipe Drugovich. Nikita Troitsky, likewise, almost exactly 2 seconds so far compared to the mark that he posted yesterday to get second on the grid. Drugovich just seesaws at the wheel, accelerating through towards the final corner. Guilherme Samaya, a little bit for him to do in the second phase of qualifying to improve from 18th. But for the drivers in the Euro Formula Open, it is all about learning. And as the 2017 season is coming towards a close, already looking very, very exciting for 2018. The news coming through that the Double R team will be joining the championship from next season. That was announced this week. And expecting to see an extremely competitive Euro Formula Open championship in 2018. Now, whether or not Lorenzo Colombo will be part of it, we will see. The Italian has immediately adapted very, very well to the step up in machinery into the Dallara F312. Quickest in free practice, 4th on the grid yesterday. But then just got caught a little bit off the line, got boxed in behind Nikita Troitsky, and as Troitsky was slow away, so was Colombo. He got sucked into the midfield scraps, was able to carve up through the field well. So just over halfway through the session, everybody poised and ready to get going. When they do rejoin the track, it's likely to be 2 laps to warm up the Michelin tyre, and then they'll have 2 or 3 opportunities at a flying lap. Yesterday we saw the majority of the hot laps being set on that first or second flying lap. Traffic dependent, because with 21 cars circulating, we did see a couple of drivers being a little bit impeded inadvertently. You just want to find some clear air. So the Campos team all waiting. Drivers just ready in the cockpits. There's Joey Mawson, BVM driver, just possibly having some adjustments to his seat belts. Mawson unfortunate to come together with Cameron Das in yesterday's race. It was on the run towards the first corner, possibly looked like they didn't quite see that they were alongside each other. Brushed wheels, damaged suspension. Fortunately, nothing more than that. And Mawson will be hoping to maybe conclude the season with a podium. In-car camera getting a clean for Taryn Reddy. Despite him bringing out the red flag, appears to be no damage at all to his Trivex F312. So the clock ticking down will probably see the start-up signal given to a few of them in about a minute's time. And yesterday it was Guilherme Samaya who was one of the first to venture onto the circuit. See the brace of Teo Martin Motorsport cars just parked behind each other as the clock, as we're just over the midway point session. Let's have a look at what happened yesterday. And off the line was Felipe Drugovic, who made an absolutely exceptional getaway as the field charged towards the first corner. Behind, Joe Mawson was pushed onto the grass. They all got bottled up behind Nikita Troitsky, who was slightly slow away. So it was Drugovic who led from De Francesco and Weidenheithen into the first turn. Alex Karkozik and Troitsky going side by side into turn 4. This was the coming together between Taryn Reddy and Ben Hingley. And they spent the rest of the race as frustrated spectators. There was frantic dicing all the way through the field. It was nail-biting stuff. Daniel Pranenko in the thick of the action with Eliseo Martinez and Pedro Cardoso. Ludovico Laurini pushing just a little bit too hard as he rotated away. And then this was the coming together between Joey Mawson and Cameron Dass. Two damaged cars, and in the case of Mawson, parked right at the edge of the circuit, was enough to bring out the safety car. As the safety car flag came out, that was when Drugovic slithered through the gravel and was shuffled down the order. That promoted De Francesco to the front of the field ahead of Weidenheithen. The battle was then for third, with Alex Karkozik making this move late on to demote Nikita Troitsky. But for Devlin De Francesco, it was his first victory in the Euro Formula Open. Amir Weidenheithen following him home to make it a 1-2 for the Carlin team, with Alex Karkozik completing the podium at the end of a frenetic race. Second win of the season for the Carlin team. And a moment to savour for De Francesco. So that was what happened yesterday. We will see how the grid for today is going to line up in a few moments. We've only got a third of the session to run now, and waiting to see who is going to emerge from the pits first of all. What they all want to do, though, is wait to see who blinks first, because the first car out is just going to be clearing up any dust that may have settled on the circuit. They'll also potentially be catching up to any of the cars that emerge a little bit later that are on out laps. There's Eliseo Martinez and Pedro Cardoso for the Teo Martin Motorsport squad. For Eliseo Martinez, a decent points finish today is going to be enough to secure 10th in the championship for him, as a couple of cars now rumble down the pit lane. It's Yanni Fitcher for RP Motorsport, who is going to be the first out, followed by Cameron Dass, and then the entirety of the field. So they all come out at once with 9.5 minutes on the clock. Bright orange helmet of Lorenzo Colombo, followed by Campos teammate Mateus Iorio. Then De Francesco, Weidenheithen and Samaya for the Carlin team. And although it's nice and sunny this morning, it's still not the warmest day, so the track temperature is a little bit lower than it certainly would have been in racing conditions yesterday. So they'll just have to be sensible on these out laps, make sure that they respect the heat cycle that the tyre needs to go through to get the best out of it when they do start to push. So there'll be a gradual elevation of pace as this lap unfolds, and then particularly on the next lap they'll be up to qualifying lap pace through the final sector, and then really ready to pull the pin and go. So the time to beat at the moment is Felipe Drugovic with a 1:39.3. Based on qualifying from yesterday, we'd expect probably that people are going to be able to go about 2 seconds quicker than that. So something in the mid to low 1 minute 37s would certainly be looking good for a pole position. As Weidenathan sits in the tail behind Lorenzo Colombo. The whole field now out on circuit. I was talking to a couple of the drivers earlier. They were saying that yesterday there was quite a pronounced slipstream effect during the course of the race. Today it is a lot stiller. The flags above the pit lane not really fluttering in the way that we saw all the way throughout yesterday. So they accelerate through, blasting under the shadow of the gigantic grandstand that overlooks the pit complex before bursting into the sunlight down towards turn 1. The road falling away. Still quite a quick entry for turn 1, so they can brake nice and late and then immediately pick up the throttle to climb the hill out of turn 2 towards the never-ending long radius turn 3. And Amir Weidenathan looking to stay with Lorenzo Colombo as they come towards turn 4. We'll see if anybody's likely to be posting an improvement on this lap. They're not. They're all still building speed. But these are two cars worth following. Colombo and Weidenathan would both be contenders to be up in the top 5 on the grid. Just wonder whether or not the Italian is going to wave the Indian through at some point, because otherwise Weidenathan is going to get the benefit of a little bit of tow all the way down the start and finish straight. So relatively speaking, these cars have got a fair bit more grip than power, and although they're very slippery and aerodynamic, they do punch a big hole through the air. As Weidenathan backs out of the lap, so does Devlin De Francesco. Guillaume Samaya following in the wheel tracks of Amir Weidenathan. So they're coming towards the end of their second warming up lap, and with the positioning starting, now Weidenathan picks up the pace and will head into a flying lap. He's going to have time for 3 or 4 flying laps if he really needs them. So they jink through the chicane, out over the curb and then through turn 16. Weidenathan sees the track unfolding in front of him and can accelerate into a new tour of the circuit. Lorenzo Colombo up the road ahead of him. Guillaume Samaya and Devlin De Francesco just behind. 5.5 minutes to go. This is what it all comes down to. Those 1 or 2 absolutely key laps where they got the very best out of the tyre. You've got to find the track space and absolutely nail the performances. Colombo and Weidenathan come towards the end of the first sector, and Weidenathan is on the cusp of an improvement. He's done his best first sector of the session. Colombo backs out of his lap, but Weidenathan really on it, scythes in front of the Italian, carves downhill through turn 5, and then sweeps through turn 6 into turn 7, climbing uphill. Uses every inch of the road. Out of turn 8, still climbing into turn 9 before the road swoops downhill once more towards turn 10 in the heavy braking zone. Yanni Fitcher also on a good lap, as is Felipe Drugovic. Drugovic has just done the fastest first sector of anybody. The fastest middle sector of anybody has gone the way of Yanni Fitcher. For Amir Weidenathan, this is looking like it's going to be a solid lap, but it's not going to be a lap that's going to give him pole position. Through turn 13, on the brakes for the chicane, as Yanni Fitcher goes quickest, a 1 minute 38.6 for Fitcher. Matthias Iorio, a 1 minute 39.1, goes second. Amir Weidenathan across the line now and goes top, a 1 minute 38.622. So he's 28,000th of a second up on Fitcher. Felipe Drugovic on the cusp of completing a lap, as Nikita Troitsky goes third, a 1 minute 38.7. Drugovic goes top, a 1 minute 38.4. So he now has a 0.2 of a second advantage. We follow Yanni Fitcher, and Fitcher has just done another best first sector of the session. The German driver midway through the lap, and this is going to be a fairly substantial improvement. Joey Mawson is also in the middle of a good lap, and the track temperature this morning suggesting that's the driver's second flying lap which is the one that's really going to set the times. Nikita Troitsky also having an excellent first sector as Joey Mawson goes top. Mawson, a 1 minute 38.3, so he moves to the top of the times by a tenth of a second. Yanni Fitcher, however, is on the cusp of a very good lap. So are both Amir Weidenathan and Nikita Troitsky. So the RP Motorsport car accelerates through the final turn. Just 3 minutes to run. What can Fitcher do? Can he get below 1 minute 38 is the question. He can't. 1 minute 38.3, so he goes second. Alex Karkozik on a very good lap. Here is Nikita Troitsky coming towards the end of the lap, but he's bottled up behind Devlin De Francesco. And De Francesco not quite on the pace of Troitsky through the lap. So across the line they go, and Nikita Troitsky goes top at 1 minute 38.1 by 25 thousandths of a second over Amir Weidenathan. Alex Karkozik then across the line. What can the Polish driver do? The answer is only fifth, as Felipe Drugovich on the road ahead of him goes top by 77 thousandths of a second. So Drugovich a 1 minute 38.114. Nikita Troitsky a 1 minute 38.191. And Amir Weidenathan a 1 minute 38.216. So the order is Drugovich, Troitsky, Weidenathan, Joey Mawson fourth, Alex Karkozik fifth, Yanni Fitcher sixth, Petru Florescu seventh, Devlin De Francesco in eighth, Thiago Vivacqua ninth, Simo Laaksonen currently completing the top 10. Felipe Drugovich, is he going to make it 2 pole positions? As Troitsky has backed right out of it. Drugovich unlikely to improve on this lap as he gets in amongst the traffic. Now, where is Lorenzo Colombo? Colombo's coming towards the end of a quick lap. He's currently in 13th place for the Campos team. Yanni Fitcher improves to 4th. Ben Hingley goes 9th. And the Amir Weidenathan goes top, a 1 minute 38.0 for Weidenathan. He takes pole by 25 thousandths of a second from Felipe Drugovich. Great lap from Weidenathan. So Drugovich is going to have to dig deep, find something else, but he's in amongst some traffic. He has got Thiago Vivacqua and Christian Hahn directly ahead of him. And this is going to be his final lap of the session. There is less than a lap time to run. Amir Weidenathan on the cusp of another improvement. As Pedro Cardoso has a moment at turn 2. Slithers wide. Let's get out of it. Devlin De Francesco is on a very good lap. Lorenzo Colombo is also on a very good lap. As Felipe Drugovich, despite the traffic, has just done the best first sector of anybody. The clock has ticked to 0. It's going to be a shootout because we have got the majority of our pole position contenders still on good laps. And Weidenathan is the most problems with them around the circuit, but he's not improved through the middle sector. Just a 25 thousandth of a second improvement for Felipe Drugovich will be enough to give him his second pole of the weekend. Drugovich pursuing Thiago Vivacqua. The checker flag is out. Drugovich doesn't improve through the middle sector. In fact, he's given away a couple of tenths to Weidenathan. Nikita Troitsky, though, did have a good middle sector. Lorenzo Colombo is coming towards the end of his lap and is going to post good time as Weidenathan takes the flag with no improvement. Colombo improves, but only to 8th. And Drugovich backs out of the lap, so he is going to have to settle for second position. Nikita Troitsky, though, continues on his way. As we follow Drugovich, Troitsky takes the line and improves his time, but doesn't improve his position. He gets to within 15 thousandths of Drugovich. Incredibly close as they take the checkered flag. Amir Weidenathan has got that pole position by 25 thousandths of a second over Felipe Drugovich, with Nikita Troitsky just 15 thousandths of a second back. The top 10 cars covered by just 6/10 of a second. The top 17 covered by under a second. It's going to be an incredibly close race later on. They've all taken the checkered flag, so the order is set. And this promises to be a thrilling season finale, one of the best qualifying sessions that we've had this year, certainly in terms of the tension. So Meir Weidenheithen pole just from Felipe Drugovich, then Nikita Troitsky and Yanni Fitcher on the second row, ahead of Joey Mawson and Devlin De Francesco on row 3, Alex Karkozik and Lorenzo Colombo on row 4, and any one of that top 8 could win the race. Simo Laxonen and Petru Florescu will look to finish the season on the high from row 5. Thiago Vivacqua and Ben Hingley on row 6, ahead of Cameron Das and Matteo Siorio, the Campos Racing teammates. Lodovico Laurini up again in 15th, clear of Guilherme Samaya. Then Christian Hahn and Eliseo Martinez on row 9, with Tarun Reddy and Pedro Cardoso completing the top 20, and Daniel Pranenko rounding out the field. Great qualifying session, and it promises to be a super race. We will be beginning our coverage at 1 o'clock Central European time today, so do make sure you join us for the conclusion of the Euro Formula Open season, where Meir Weidenheithen will start from pole position for Carlin Motorsport. Till then, it's goodbye from Barcelona. So Meir Weidenheithen very happy with qualifying as he consolidates pole from Drugovich and Troitsky. We'll be back at 1 o'clock Central European time for the season finale in the Euro Formula Open.